not going to say my opinion on that. But let's just, you don't run around the house turning off smoke detectors. You know, there's a reason there's oxidative bursts in your muscles and in your body. Whether you want to attenuate that or dampen them down is something you may want to think about. So leave it at that. Now, the people working on the quahogs, this is that plan for this 400 years. It turns out they are very much in the pro-free radical camp. Okay, so they want to, because it's a nice, neat, pat story. And quahogs, and calling them quahogs, I guess I picked my, I looked this up on Wikipedia. Apparently, I was trying to figure out how to pronounce that. And it turns out that it's quahog if you're on one half of Rhode Island, and quahog if you're on the other half. Rhode Island is a little state. Why they would do that is beyond me. But quahogs have this characteristic where they're very, very low levels of oxidative stress. So they burrow periodically and basically hold their breath for like several days at a time. So they'll go under and lower their metabolic rate. All right. And this is a paper that came out in July comparing two species of similar plants. This is also called a quahog, even though it has a different genus. Turns out that the long-lived one, I guess, has its own genus, apparently. The marine biologists might be able to correct me on that. But they compared one that would live 400 years to one that lived only 106 years. Still pretty good for a plant that big. And the result was that they found that they had less free radicals produced in the heart and gill, which fit the hypothesis that they have more resistance to oxidative stress. We treated them with a chemical that generated peroxide, I think, and they did better. And they also had less damaged proteins. The same paper, they just said, well, we also had these other things that we can't explain, which was they had similar amounts of free radicals in the muscles. They found similar antioxidant levels. So the antioxidant genes, the genes that are responsible for protecting cells, is about the same in the two. And they couldn't even get it to bump up or be any different when they challenged it. So it's just, you know, it's just the same sort of stuff that we're seeing in fruit flies, seeing in mice, seeing in the terrestrial environment. So it's exactly the same mystery. I said mysteries of the two are the same. It's the same, even though I think the paper's a bit pro-free radical. So really, this is the question. Is oxidative stress causing aging or aging causing oxidative stress? That's the big question. The other theory, I'm getting but the other theory is this idea of telomeres, right? So what the telomere does is like the cap of a chromosome. And what happens is every time your cells divide, the cap gets shorter. So just imagine, every time you change your shoes, you took your scissors, and you clip the little end of your shoelace off. All right, eventually, you're going to cut it to the point where it starts to fray. And fraying is bad. Cells, when they start to get frayed chromosome ends, they basically commit suicide because they think they got cancer. All right, so the idea then is if this is really in place, then we're actually capped with the number of cell divisions we can have. So they tested this in sea urchins. It's a red and a green. So green means go, live fast, die young. Red is sort of slow. And for those of you who are colorblind, I at least arranged them like traffic lights. All right, so you can tell on top of the bottom. So which ones do you have the longest telomeres? The longest telomeres. Remember, if you shorten your telomeres, you're going to die, right? Well, it turns out the greens have the longest telomeres. All right, and when we did this with ants, we found humongous telomeres, but again, it wasn't so they both maintain telomeres. So it's interesting to see that they're actually looking at this question. Let me it's got to be a plug. There's one on that. Now, this is, I'm almost done, so bear with me. This is where sea urchins really pick my imagination, okay? Because you can look at their demography, and what this is graphing on the solid line is what's called the reproductive value. So what this means is from the ages of 20 to 80, these are the ones that are contributing the most offspring. But what happens then is from like 80 to 140, the amount of offspring they contribute drops due to extrinsic mortality and such. But what's weird or amazing about it is when you calculate their probability of survival, they are going into the selective shadow of that dead flat. It's as if a 20-year-old was going to be 80 with a flat mortality without increasing their rate of aging. How do they do this? Why do they do this? I mean, it's kind of weird when you think about it, because it could be, since natural selection is not acting, it could just be a dumb accident. So if there's no natural selection, why not select to be a better, higher mortality? You could have situations where you have lower mortality rates or higher mortality rates if there's no selection acting, right? You just by chance go either way. We may actually have a case of that in fruit flies. I'm working with immunity and stuff. Actually, she's going for her upgrade tomorrow. We found a situation that may be similar to this. Turns out firehawks do this too. So basically, sea urchins and quahawks have figured out a way to just camp out at this, and they just sort of go along. That's what we want to figure out how to do, right? It's got to be more like sea urchins. So I'm really kind of excited. I gotta go find someone who works on sea urchins. I'm really glad to hear this. I mean, they're kind of cute too. I call them the sea turtle. So my postgraduate, my postdocs actually didn't know what a turtle was. I know, I was ready to fire. But, so anyway, here are their conclusions. So basically, aging, remember now, you should know, is an age-specific increase in mortality, right? So when you're talking about aging, you're talking about changing your probability of dying from one point to another, right? And it happens when natural selection is no longer working. So at least for humans, it's when the selective shadow comes into play, all right? There's also a lot of really interesting long-lived marine organisms, and there must be more out there just waiting to be found. This one, sea urchins and quahawks, and if you're 20, you're in good shape. You basically are immortal. And what I live with aging is mysterious as ever. And, oh, boy, I Paul, speaking of long life and long-winded, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. I think that was fabulous. Do you have any questions? I'm sure you'll have plenty. Well, come on, maybe shall I? Yep.
My favorite ants that I worked on in Arizona, Pagama seed harvester ants, they did the same thing maximum lifespan of 27 years. And it's not really going to follow that well because they kind of move their colony, so it's not as easy to keep track of. But preliminary evidence is at least some of the social insects are doing that trick. Yeah, talking about the wings. The workers are still really long, live like 3 to 7 years, but they have to forage, so they're turning over. Foraging is a very, very dangerous thing for a social insect to do. So when they get old, they go out and forage, and something gets them. Yeah, but they do seem to also live a long time, and that's what it is, the fact that queens live so long.
Other questions?
At the start of that, she had the jellyfish that goes from middle age back to 20 or something a year. What's the process of that? Is it doing it one cell at a time? Or
I don't think anybody knows.
entire organism? Just
I'd love to know. That'd be really, I don't think anybody knows. I mean, how do you reverse development? You know, that's what they're doing. And I mean, the two questions. One is how do they reverse development, and the other is how do they reset? I mean, basically, they're hitting a reset button. You know, and that's different than what the sea urchins are doing. You know, and what we do, we're maintaining, but they're actually going back in life history and somehow resetting it over and over and over. And you think about what sex is, you know, sexually producing organisms. In essence, you go from germline to an individual, and you go back to a germline, and then so they're sort of playing a trick in that they're sort of being, you know, they're doing that.
so they cut bits off their telomeres and then stick bits off.
Yeah, telomeres are funny because dividing cells tend to have them on. Stem cells have telomerase. Cancer cells have to have telomerase on. When you have insects with dividing cells, usually they have telomerase expressed, so they're still making telomeres. And that's another very interesting study. They're trying to find out indexing tumors in quads and sea urchins and animals, trying to find out what cancer rates are. It's really hard. You know, how do you identify an insect as lymphoma? That's one of the problems we have to figure out that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm sure they must be messing with the telomeres. They have to be to keep it going.
If an animal passed its sort of breeding capability is still living, isn't it, can it be competing for resources against its own offspring? So would there be a sort of selection pressure to
That is an interesting question because you always have to. There's a couple of issues there. One is you're more related to yourself than you are to your offspring. So if you can be as good as your offspring, you think evolution would favor you just being there. And you actually get into the arguments with the evolution of sex, which gets kind of strange. Another thing is there are cases where these trade-offs happen, and that's one of the topics of this bumblebee project I'm working on, where we have queen bumblebees